I didn't even know how to define myself as a human. I was what I did, not who I was. And so I had to refine who I was underneath the sculptor, the artist, the musician, and all of that.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. Yo, man. Boom, it's Rusty. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Public Access Podcast, the podcast here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. I'm your host, Rusty Diamond. Check me out, rustydiamond.net, hypnosisisgreat.com, popuphealing.net, or facebook.com/popuphealing. And today I have a special guest, a very special guest, who is the third person that is part of pop-up healing, and that makes all four of us. So it's time for me to bring on my special guest right here and right now. And my special guest right here and right now is Lauren Koch. So Chat GPT to better yourself. And this has been it's a weird thing that happens now. I was just actually uh talking with Brittany about this, and like how much with all this, like we can get from other healers, or go and seek out healing, but then also to add to it, like there is the AI
Mm.
part of it, the Chat GPT, to be able to better your life as well and be able to pick up on other things. I don't know, like you can stick out your tongue and take a picture of your tongue and have it analyze it. Like it can, I mean, the pattern recognition is better than, you know, a lot of other people. And so like it can pick up on nuances. I think that, you know, I think a lot of us should adopt it and somehow, because there's still like not like fully, but um I mean, you can see a lot with the naked eye, but to just have that extra and be like, I didn't notice that, but then here's what I know already, and be able to
Hmm.
incorporate that into something new. And I don't know, I've really got into trying to find out how to better myself. And it's hard now because I've got into this and I don't know what way to go, but I think that every way is good. And I I don't know. I think it might be not beneficial for people to not even look into it, or
Hmm.
not and I was talking with Brittany too about it, like you don't want to end up being the smartest person in the room. I think that's a big thing that now has become a something that people are kind of striving to be.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, once you get to that spot, there's no room for growth.
right.
And sure, you can be the smartest person in the room, but you're not evolving anymore. And
Hmm. And where is the humility and being like humble about, because every day when I go into a classroom with students, or even on social media, I learn stuff.
right. And you need to, even as a teacher, you need to be learning. You need to be, I mean, sure, there's some teachers I think that have been around, and maybe that I had in school, who I think maybe were just completely going by the book and not doing anything else, get their
Right.
tenure, and
Yep.
then just coast on that for
Hmm.
however long it is until they can retire. And that's fine if that's really what they want to do and that's what they're aspiring to. Great. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's cool for them.
Right.
They're down with it. And I don't wish stagnation of them, like a person, on anyone. I don't
Hmm.
I don't want that. And I mean, I've sat in stagnation for long periods of time. Is probably
Right.
why I'm like that. And Is that anything you ever got into, or you always feel like you
I
were
I've had
going?
more like creative paralysis and stuff than stagnation.
That's a good way to put it.
I've had to really step back and start trying to retrain myself to not always be productive, if that makes sense,
How do
because
you do that?
when you find out, let me know.
Yeah, right.
Um, it's taken a lot of like trying to rewild or connect back to my inner child to tell me how to relax and to do nothing for, like I can just float in a pool for 3 hours and everybody's like, is she okay? But,
I'm fucking great.
right? Please
Yeah,
don't disturb me.
yeah. I got a good thing going here. If I've been sitting here for 3 hours straight, I'm doing something that I like. This is something that I like. It's nothing else. This is go with it.
Uh-huh.
This is a good thing here. And
Yeah.
I mean, what happens then? Like, when someone comes in and questions that.
It's really tough. Like I've done a ton of inner critic work because like I was homeschooled all the way through and like we were that pure southern like you jerk yourself up by your bootstraps and you just keep trucking sort of mentality and like the thing in our house was if you have time to sit down, you have time to be working on something. So
Uh, uh, yeah, yeah. I remember at some jobs, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean.
exactly.
Yeah, and so what would be going on when you were not doing that? And then how much of that led into adulthood? And I'm asking
Hmm.
this with a guiding question because the same boat, and
Yeah.
I feel I have kind of a similar answer to you in that respect. There is that.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, my body finally said, "Hey, fuck you,"
Me too.
and put me on my ass. I was almost completely immobilized going into my second full year of grad school up here at UMD,
Uh,
and I was in a back brace. Like I couldn't stand up or sit down or be in any position for more than 15 minutes. And like I was used to hiking and walking cities like 20 miles per day, that kind of thing. And then I was stuck. So, and I'm an
whoa,
iron worker, so like I'm used to picking up heavy stuff all the time and I couldn't. Like 10 pounds, 15
whoa.
pounds were like the max that I could do.
And
And I couldn't walk more than like 100 feet without having to sit down and rest for a few minutes. And it was not fun.
yeah, and only picking up things from about here,
Mhm. Mhm.
somewhere in that range. And if it's not there, too bad.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, so I mean, like, does that mean that you have more time then to get into be creative because you have this this want to be productive, but not taking the time to go? Or because I mean, I got into it and I got pretty creative and productive, but then
Mhm.
I also burned out, and I
Yeah.
burned out hard.
Yeah. I
And
feel like since I graduated from grad school at in May of 2020. So March of
whoa,
2020 we were thrown out of our studios. We had no gallery to do our thesis exhibition or anything like that. So I ended up doing it in the garage at my partner's house just out in our yard. Luckily it was very nostalgic and, farm themed, so it kind of fit in, but
cool.
I really felt like it was probably the closest thing I'll ever experience to maybe postpartum or some kind of like there was this culmination and all of this burnout that went into it, and then suddenly everything was ripped out from under me. I had none of my friends, none of my professors. Like we all went into just hibernation mode afterward and went in our separate ways. And it was just really, really strange. So the past, I'd say 4 years has been me redefining myself as a human, returning back to my roots even more than I had before, and more agrarian ways, going back to the cyclical nature and rhythms of the natural world, basically using that as a guide to sort of like set up my life. And then that thought went out the window, but that's kind of what I've been doing the past 4 years while I've built my business, is trying to rewild and reconnect to nature, because I had really lost myself in classical music and the art realm, like fine arts realm. So I didn't even know how to define myself as a human. I was what I did, not who I was. And so I had to refine who I was underneath the sculptor, the artist, the musician, and all of that.
That was one of those things in that Chat GPT prompt that Chat GPT told me that I need to do. And it's important because, yeah,
Mhm.
when someone asks me what I do, my answer is, here's a list of the creative shit that I do. This is me.
Yeah.
And then that's been a hard thing to break from.
Hmm.
You will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair. You just need a computer or your phone. You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
They ask, what I do or how I'm doing. And then I ask them, is this a deeper question, or who are you? What's,
Right.
whatever. And, but I don't know. I mean, who are you if you aren't your creative work? Like what does that go into? Where does that take you?
In the past, it was very negative. Um, I had to work through a lot of like I am statements. I think we were talking about this the other day with Sean too, is
Yeah.
how affirmations didn't really work when I was at the beginning of my self-love journey. And I had to start with I am statements, and a lot of those were very negative. And it's like, okay, if you're stubborn, what is a different word for that? I am tenacious. And like trying to do a slightly more upbeat and look at the shadow and the light side of all of these attributes. So have you ever looked at the archetype cards, like the hero
Oh,
and the queen, and like it's like tarot decks, but it's Carolyn Mace. I'll send you some of the information, but it's sort of a
cool.
Jungian type theory of you have this lark light and dark side of every person, and some of it's more of an animalistic instinct, and some of it's a higher self instinct sort of that's built in.
Eh, So then is that a definitive of a person? Is it you or is it just talking about these traits, or does it go and does it sort you into the traits that you are?
It's not really a sort of thing. I mean, it certainly could be, but I look at it in the same way as astrology. You are a certain star sign, your chart, your chart can sort of direct you or tell you things to look out for, but don't ever, like, you still have will, right?
Right.
So you don't want to hand over your control to an astrological chart or to a card, right? You can take and look at, say, the hero card or the martyr card, and look at both of those attributes and say, okay, I'm more in the dark side of this. What things do I need to add into my practice to start working toward the light? Because you're trying to achieve more balance than being in one direction or the other, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. And then so do you need to, yeah, like if you have too much dark, you need to take whatever, let's say there's 10 dark attributes and 7 of them are dark and 3 of them
Hmm.
are light. Would you take 2 of them and then take the exact opposite of whatever it is for that? Or is it just more of a sort of generalized term and not that literal?
I would say it's more of a generalized term because each person's path and way that they navigate that is going to be very unique to the person. So we can generalize it to an extent and give people sort of like stepping blocks or
Yeah,
illuminate the path a little bit to where they can go to sort of start stepping more into their light side or fixing their karma or what. There's a lot of things, but like the way that I'm envisioning what you just said is kind of like you're in a video game and your good person side is starting to diminish as you're like in potion craft. If you work with too many of the robbers or do too many poisons or something, your dark side starts going up, but
yeah,
you can level that out. It's similar to that, but that's a very huge generalization. What you do in order to drop the darkness and
yeah.
level it out is going to be completely unique to each person.
And so then are people aspiring for complete duality, or are they going for some form of gray on a scale between light and dark and light, or just split right down the middle?
I like trying to get towards split right down the middle, that gray area. Um, but that's my spiritual path that I follow is more in the realm of witchcraft, not Wiccan, not, any specific thing, but just like I believe that what you put out into the world comes back to you. You can manifest, you can put out bad karma, like anything's going to come back to you, but I don't believe necessarily in the threefold of Wicca.
Yeah,
Because they would encourage you not to be like a warrior or to do anything that's in the dark side because you'll get it back threefold. Well, sometimes, say you are dealing with a child abuser, well, you might want to put a hex on that person or a protection spell around the child and also go to your local authorities and let them know, hey, this kid is being, and that's that warrior coming out. You have to judge the karma for yourself, basically, to say, is this person worth letting continue to go and I don't do anything about it, it'll just sort itself out? Or do I need to step up and actually create an action to correct the wrong that is happening?
do you think about that ever? Just like when, I don't know, like when I see people doing really shitty stuff, I like calling shit out,
Hmm.
but then also I'm at the same time, it's like, why am I involving myself in this? Like,
Yeah.
why? Like, and is it worth it to get into it and do something about it, or yeah, do you
Hmm.
let karma take care of itself, and it's between
Right.
those entities,
Yeah.
people, and it's a
You
hard
have to
one.
weigh it for yourself each time. Have I called on my way north through Virginia to, you know, call in a driver that was about to kill everybody? Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I had their tag number, but am I going to, like, every time the person behind us has a fire on a fire ban, am I going to call on them? No, because I'll probably join them, that sort
right.
of
Yeah,
thing.
I have shit I have to burn too.
Plus, I've been highly trained in fire safety too, so I'm not that
Yeah,
concerned. I don't-
it's,
it's the
it's
same. Like I when I traveled to Paris, I actually jumped some in the metro. I had to jump the metro rail to catch the last train, but it was because we had just swiped our card and there's a certain time limit to be able, but we had got
uh,
in the wrong side and we had to change. So Yeah, absolutely. I'm not cheating the system.
Yeah.
I have to get back to my dorm by this certain
Yeah.
time. And so, y- there's gray areas everywhere. It's just like driving the speed limit.
Yeah. And that doesn't, it's wild how that that there is speed limits. I get it. I get it for the reason why
Yeah.
they do speed limits, but then also I feel there's a lot of spots where if it goes back to the following the rule of the road,
Hmm.
or the, I forgot what it's called, the golden rule of the road, of driving. And, it's kind of the same thing with a lot of things. It's just whatever,
Hmm.
whatever makes sense and everyone's safe and cool. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I go by the term of be a good human being and treat people the way that you would like to be treated. And I feel like that is, you know, it'll get you pretty far in life.
yeah. And, who, like, I don't know, because you get to feel doing good. And
Hmm.
it's a good, nice thing to have, a nice
Yeah.
thing to be able to do. And yeah, I was talking to the one of the people that was on the set, and she kept asking these questions to everyone that was, in the room with her, like asking, what favorite movie
Hmm.
is like and who you would want to talk with, dead or alive.
Right.
And then, so I went up to her the last day, like when I was saying, thanks for having me here and stuff. I said that uh, I asked what conversation you want to get out into the world,
Hmm.
and like, I don't know, there's a lot that needs to get out, and there's, yeah, and she said to be kind, and I
Hmm.
was like, that's fucking yeah. There's nothing wrong with that answer. That's a great answer, and be a good person's a great
Hmm.
answer, and it's it's a simple answer, but it's a fucking good
Yeah.
answer.
I
Like
mean,
you don't need a different answer. Like
right.
that's a fucking deep answer.
Yeah. When you
Like
live
what?
from love and let that kind of direct you, but you also have strong enough boundaries to not be a doormat,
Right?
there you go. That is it in a capsule.
Yeah. It- That's that's been a hard fucking line to find too. Like that one is just it's yeah. It took me a while to get that one. I'm still working on it, but yeah, that's a hard one to do. And
Hmm.
because yeah, you can't just you gotta fucking keep your own cup with some
Yep.
goodness in it. What are you drinking? What's that?
I This is some of my own blend. It's a mixture. I keep a couple of different things on my cou- um on my counter, and then I just sort of blend together, but it's a mixture of my moon balance tea, the citrus mint relax, and just a ton of marshmallow root in it because I try to keep myself super hydrated and everything.
Cool. Okay. And so you have your own Lauren blend of teas.
Yeah, every time it's different. And like I keep loose rose petals and sage, lavender and stuff right there as well. So like say the moon balance and the sinus blend are very just kind of across the board herbaceous.
Okay. Oh, it's you sound weird for a minute. I don't know what happened. I can't hear you. Uh, she was saying how cool I am, pretty much for like 10, 15 seconds, and I can't hear. Uh-uh. But yeah, it's been a whole
How about now?
while. Now I can hear you. That's
Okay,
cool. That'll
we'll
work.
just go off head.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Maybe, yeah. I don't know if it's maybe something with the internet, or I don't know, fuck it.
or short
Uh,
and the headphones or something.
yeah, the fun stuff. And so then, what do you do? Like, what gets you to your point where you're gonna be like you're relaxed kind of spot? Is it in that pool of water for 3 hours and just or what is it? Where do you go?
It's really, I take and do like a body scan and check in with where my energy is
Mhm.
any specific day, because some days I can't even get off the couch because of my chronic illness stuff and everything. So it's really, hey, do I just need a cup of tea in this moment and a nap and, a nice rip on the bong or whatever?
Right.
Or do I need to go take a hike and get my feet in the creek or something like that? So you might find me, up at the Cunningham Falls or something, with my sketchbook, and I might disappear for 4 hours and I'll just have my feet in the creek and I'm listening to birds and walking around and stuff like that. Or, maybe I need to go to H Mart and get the energy of the people around me, or, just go to Home Goods and smell all the candles or something like that. I really tap into what I'm needing that day. And I've been very fortunate to now have stepped back and completely become a solo entrepreneur. And I'm not really doing many collaborations. That way, I'm actually able to, because my energy cycle is so connected to my menstrual cycle as a biological female and my allergies too, I can almost tell when I'm going to have a really bad flare. And so I take off 2 or 3 days to just kind of have hibernation period when I know that I'm going to be starting. So I make sure that week I don't have any clients that I'm seeing. I try to limit, say, vending events or workshops that I'm teaching and stuff like that. And it's helped me be able to get in connection with my body as well as the moon cycles and stuff like that. And so it each day ends up being different. And I'm also neurodivergent too. So it's really hard for me to even drive down the same road twice in one day, if you know what I mean.
Yep, I know what you mean there. And yeah,
And mine is it's sort of ADHD. So it's like
me
this
too.
very calm monkey in my head that is constantly picking up the shit that the other monkey's been throwing, and they're fighting with each other the whole time.
It's a good way to figure it out. And like that's also something that I've just kind of been learning about, which has been weird, a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, at 42,
Yeah.
figuring it out then. And
36 here. It's crazy.
yeah, looking back, it's just like, well, shit, like my life could have been a lot easier.
It explains a lot, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think would have been the biggest help for you?
I think just having the label of it and having the understanding, because a lot of my chronic pain is based off of issues that are connected to neurodivergency. And even like I have certain, some would classify as learning disabilities, because I end up having like neurodyslexia and dyslexia, but it's like a symptomatic thing when I'm having migraines, when I'm super anxious and stuff like that. And so instead of having to have masked and took it all inside of myself and created this shell and basically put myself in a corner back in my, like, my mental side, and try to mask all of the things that society would think is weird.
Yeah.
That has been like the past 6 years has been me trying to refine who I was before I went through adolescence, I would say. um
That was a big masking time.
yeah, extremely.
Yeah, with plenty of times just breaking down trying to fucking do that.
Hmm.
Um, did so I was just reading or I don't know, I'm listening to a book, I guess. I'm not reading a book right now, but it was talking about the dyslexia and stuff of it.
Yeah.
But it was saying a lot with the reading that it's about if it's stuff that you're interested in, it's no problem. Or if, like, or if you're just doing it hands on and you
Yeah.
just go and you do it, like you know how to do it, know how to do it probably
Mhm.
better than a lot of other people. And that it's just there, or but like if you see something, you have to read something that you don't care about, it just becomes jumbled up words all
Mhm.
over the
Mhm.
page. And like I was like, oh yeah, that one was me too. Like, and I never even thought about that before. But I mean, if I'm reading something I'm interested in, I have no problem, but try
It's
to
the
get
dopamine hit, right? And
totally.
I feel like that's a lot of what drives me having to have my schedule so flexible is because I do have to follow the energy. And that's what I've started calling it. Instead of the dopamine, it's like, okay, I know I have to get these certain tasks done this week. Where can I put them to where it will, you know, feasibly work right, but also where I'll get the most energy from it or the most satisfaction. And that has helped a lot. But also making sure that I'm working in like 2 hour chunks or and I'll put an alarm on my phone so I'll remember to eat and drink and stuff like that sometimes
Good
because
thinking.
I'll get in hyper focus and I might paint for 8 hours and not realize it, especially if my partner is not here and, off working. And I won't realize how long a period, like maybe I haven't moved and then I can't walk for the rest of the day, or, I haven't drank and my head is killing me and I'm starving. And like, so I have to, the survival instinct gets totally overridden completely
Yeah,
when I'm working. And
yeah,
sometimes that can be for like weeks on end. And that's also how I end up in the hospital and everything else because I'm dehydrated and malnourished and all the things.
yeah. The old, like, all of a sudden it's, oh shit, like I need to get food right now or else I'm fucked.
Yep.
Um, and I don't know what to even do. And then that's when I hope
Mhm.
someone is home with me at that point.
Yeah.
That helps out a bunch. And I've had that one happen. I don't even know how many times this
Mhm.
happened, and I couldn't imagine not having someone.
Right.
And I'll just grab whatever the fuck I can at that point. Or yeah,
But I don't know how much like experience you've had in corporate world or academia,
a
but
little bit.
it they everything we're taught, even from like I didn't have it so much in grade school because I was homeschooled all the way through, but for those in public school, like it's ingrained in you from pre-K to not listen to your body's innate wisdom to let you know that you are hungry. You need to go to the bathroom. You're told to hold it.
Yeah, yeah,
And like
you're fucking right. Yeah,
and so like if you're in a 3 hour college class, whether you're the professor or the student, and one or the other won't budge, like there's sometimes when you need to go to the bathroom and it's right now, like you can't. And I've had
yeah.
professors dock points because you yawned and it was a 7 p.m. class and stuff like that. And
Oh
it's just
yeah.
like,
Did you get the 10-minute smoke breaks in those 3-hour classes?
no,
We'd get those a lot. I
they
remember
would
that.
take them, but me, I wouldn't. And most of the time you'd have to beg to even go to the bathroom, especially in lecture classes.
What were you going to school for, and how much of that is involved in your present mind?
So my undergrad education was classical music, piano and voice
Cool.
mostly,
Okay. Cool.
and fine arts. I was doing a dual major, and
Uh,
half toward the end of my music degree, I ended up getting severe tendonitis, or what they thought, in my hands because I'm hypermobile, also a neurodivergent trait. And so, like, all of my lower spine issues, all of my hand issues, my neck is all hypermobility related.
what does that mean? I don't know
That
what
means,
hypermobility
like, I
means.
can turn fingers really far back, like things aren't supposed, they go in weird locations where they're not supposed to. And it's
Okay.
a form of
Cool.
EDS, or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. There's certain traits, like in blood tests and stuff, that they can do now that can pinpoint certain things, but I'm in the spectrum that hasn't really been researched. And so it's this, I probably will never find out all of the details of what I've got, because I deal with like dysautonomia POTS issues, so I get super dizzy all the time, and that's
Oh,
connected to my
yeah.
the intolerance, the allergy issues. I have a histamine intolerance, but it's not bad enough to be mast cell syndrome, and like it's
Yeah.
complicated.
I'm in those same boats. And yeah, uh it's something. I mean, it's keeping us on our toes
Mhm.
and getting us to where we are. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like I when I went to school, I shouldn't I if I could have left and got my GED at 16,
Yeah.
I would have been all about it. I wouldn't want to stop learning, but I didn't care about anything in college really that
Right.
like it was all that everything just jumbles up and like what am I supposed to do with this? But this is what everyone else is doing.
That's
So
because we're different kind of learners.
yeah,
And that's been one of my major, like, nerding out things or hyper focuses, is pedagogy, the art of teaching, because we each individually have a different way that we learn, and there's like different categories, whether you're a visual learner, a action based learner where you're actually doing the things, excuse me, um oral learners, like I have auditory issues, so a lot of times I'll hear things wrong, or like if you say a stream of numbers, I won't remember past the first three or something like that.
yeah.
And so, like, learning how to work with other people, because there's so much what is it called, what is that, ableism within teaching practices in academia, that
Sure.
we don't even think about it. I mean, some people can't even hold a pencil, and like I have to actually use special tools sometimes because of the hypermobility in my hands to hold my pencils and stuff without extreme pain.
How do you hold your pencil?
Let's see. I have a skewer here. Typically, I hold it like this, but you see how my finger like goes in? I should probably be doing it more like this.
Are we kind of the same way here?
Yeah,
It looks like the same sort of thing. Like,
right.
did you have those things that were like they look like sleeves that go on from here that are
Mm-hmm.
sort of squishy? Is that what
Mm-hmm.
you used or different
Sometimes I use
variations?
that, and sometimes I'll even take and cut like a bouncy ball, like some of the little bit bigger ones, and I'll
Yeah.
jab stuff through it. But
Okay.
it's without knowing what the problem is, we don't know how to really go about adapting to it. But and
Yeah.
I think that's why I have benefited from the labels, even though I hate the label. It's like at least having an answer of like, hey, you're not normal. You've never been normal. And
Yeah.
this is why. And, you're not losing your mind.
Right. Well, at least in that part.
Right.
In that part of it, we're probably okay. But the other parts, who knows? But it's a weird one, and it's just I mean, there's so much, and like with what's it called? Like when I hear a lot of different voices at one place, like that one,
Mm.
that's a tough one. And because I remember seeing a kid that was, I don't know, not a kid, but like a teenager of some sort that was working at the pool, and she had on headphones. And like if I could have worn headphones at work
Right.
at any one of my jobs, especially the customer service jobs, I could have done a hell of a lot better. I probably wouldn't
Right.
have gotten in nearly as much
Yep.
trouble. And yeah, it's ridiculous. And um I'm so happy for what a lot of the people get to have now. And like we're getting to talk to people like, and I have a therapist now that I go to that
Words
specifies I
specifically
specifically works with
specializes.
people, that are like autistic. And you know how fucking hard it is to get an autism examination when you're in your fucking 40s?
Yep.
Do you know how long that took? You know how much it costs? Dude, like
I haven't even started.
it's it's so ridiculous how much that is. And so like I because the self-diagnosis, I get it and I'm for it. And but I still think that there's a lot that needs
Yep.
to be
Yep.
changed to it, but and it also needs to be not fucking thousands of dollars to get a
Yep.
test for someone like that. That's so fucked up. And like there's so many people that it could help. If I would have got that out 30 years ago,
Hmm.
sure, that would have been great. And so I was going to ask you too, have you ever done any of those tests that they have for like where you have to remember, you're talking about numbers, but like remember what they say and you have to go and they'll ask questions about it later or ask you to repeat a
I
series of
don't
numbers?
think so, but I know that I did so many testings with a pediatrician because I mean, they knew that I was ADHD like going into grade school, but they never did like it wasn't a need to be figured out with my family. They were just like, she's strong-willed and we're going
That's fine.
to, and so up until college, I didn't really have any testing issues or anything. I was always well above, and Georgia percentiles isn't saying much, but I was always testing well above our state levels and everything. But then I hit college and I couldn't necessarily, focus because, oh, there's an electrical sound or the fan above me is making this guy over here is tapping his hands, and it was just like all of these things. And I just kept, I did well, but did I do as well as I wanted to? No.
What did you do to counteract it?
I just studied a shit ton and would memorize stuff, which was really hard for me because
Because
pattern recognition. I have a
yeah,
really hard time as a musician memorizing music. And I ended up ending my because of the tendonitis and the memory issues. I was trying to get a doctor's approval so I could do a half lecture, half recital so I could get my degree. I did my whole entire degree, but couldn't pass the final recital because of those two problems. And I didn't know who to talk to or whatever. Everybody, I was in braces up to my elbows, having to dictate art history and music history papers because I couldn't do anything with my hands anymore.
whoa.
But they wouldn't
And
let me
they wouldn't let you.
accommodate. Yeah, because I didn't have any kind of actual reason. I was just in extreme pain, but that was not enough for them. And of course, the doctor back then didn't know what hypermobility or anything was. So
Yeah.
6 years into my undergrad, I end up dropping my music degree completely finished except for the final recital, switching from art ed to full sculpture printmaking and art history minor. And that's what I graduated from undergrad with. I took a year off, did Jeep fabrication and all kinds of Home Depot jobs and stuff like that. Went to residencies in upstate New York and stuff and Arizona. And then I came back, got super serious on applying to grad schools, and I was accepted to UMD and then came up here. And so fine arts, like installation art and stuff, and natural colorants were kind of my focus, along with ironworking, casting, and all the historical stuff. And then I started becoming immobilized and having to go into, trying to figure out how to rebuild my body, where I found actual yoga. And that started me on the path of energy healing and being a yoga teacher and everything else for hypermobile people. And I mean, now that is my daily job. Is I'm a sound healer. I do sound immersions. I'm an art teacher. I teach all kinds of art stuff, uh, handicraft things like survival skills. I teach those things. And I also have the herbal apothecary because I've been studying as a herbalist for like 20 years. So yeah, everything
Well,
I studied and was doing has come and become my business at this point.
okay. Well, then there, that's a much better way to do it than
It's
could
taken
have.
a while.
But you know what? It needed to take a while,
Yeah.
and I mean that's another thing. Trying to get a job back in when I was a teenager or young
Mhm.
whippersnapper or whatever. It was go in, look him right in the eye, and go, good fucking handshake, and you're gonna probably get a job. And you
Not
could do
like
that.
that these days.
Yeah, and then eventually I break down somehow, and then they'd realize like, oh shit. Or tell 'em, I'm a real fast learner, but that's a complete lie because I'm not. I'm the exact opposite of a fast learner, but eventually I'm gonna learn how to do it better than everybody else, find a smarter way, a more efficient way to do it, and then they're
Hmm.
gonna hate it,
Yep.
and then I'll get fired. Uh,
Yeah.
Usually how it would seem to go. And yeah, I mean, it's all about finding what works for you and going with it and being able to use everything to your best ability. And you've fucking
Hmm.
done that. And so when people are smart and they want to work with you, where are they going to go to find you?
The best way is looking me up under laurengkoch.com. That will have all of my different projects. I do a lot of different collaborations, including pop-up healing, which I met Rusty here. And I work with Barnstone Studio out of and Gallery out of Thurmont, Maryland, as well as Catoctin Mountain Massage and Wellness. That's where I predominantly see my private clients, but I do distance work as well with all of my integrative well-being stuff.
Like online?
Hmm. Yep, I do
Okay.
Zoom meditations. I don't do too much sound because I find that it's better in person.
And Zoom has a weird thing with it with the sound. You can do it with some other ones, but
Mhm.
there's some setting I haven't figured out with Zoom yet,
Yeah,
with instruments of sorts.
I'll have
And
to get my condenser mic out and see if it'll work with it.
yeah. And so you said you're not really into memorizing music. Are you more you learn it by ear, or you just like playing something different every time?
Well, in the classical realm and the like New England Irish fiddle music type realm of things, I would use sheet music. I can sight read coming and going. Like you give me a fresh sheet of music and I can probably play it fairly like true to form. Um, but I get very stuck. Like I can't remember the patterns, even on short, like little Irish jigs and stuff like that. I have to learn it by, ear, and I have the auditory issues. So then I can't fully get it in my muscle memory, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the past 4 years in my healing journey, part of that has been reclaiming my music. And so I I know a lot of the theory behind stuff. I know composition, so I lead choir type singer groups and stuff like that sometimes, and I'll
Ooh.
teach basic classes. That was my first job, was a piano teacher, from the age of 15 onward, and I've been in retirement for the past 10 years, I guess. But um
How'd you teach? What was your way of teaching?
um
You have like books of
I would get
like what we
books. I
had?
typically use the Faber book group that they had. I really liked it, but I would supplement a lot because there I haven't found the perfect intro to piano book out there.
I bet going back to AI, that AI could come up with a pretty sweet one and like
Yeah.
be able to, yeah, and with so much of that stuff in public domain, so much of that sheet music now,
Right.
because it used to be really hard and really expensive to even get public domain pieces. All you could only
Exactly.
have these books, but now like a lot of that's available, and I love that. I love that so much that there's a
AI
lot.
is a funky area because I feel like there is a way that you can use it with integrity
Yep.
and from an educated point of view, but there's a lot of points where it's I've heard a lot of authors and stuff talk about how they're not using Grammarly and some of the earlier AIs much anymore because it's taking and storing all that original work, all that original data, and then feeding it to other people. So it's also stealing stuff.
Right.
So I'm a bit concerned about that. But like with me, the way I've been messing around with it is I'll just put like outlines and my research and like notes that I want to do, and I'll have it sort of like help instead of sitting for 6 hours trying to sort out this brain and doing a clear outline. I'll just put all of my notes and say, can you organize this in a feasible fashion? And then I go take and write my chapters or whatever. And that's where I've found it really helps.
Cool.
But I
Yeah.
don't like, there's so many, and I'm just going to say idiots in quotation marks out there that don't know their stuff. They haven't been doing this work for 20 something years. Not that I'm saying that there is someone that's been out here doing it for a year or 2 years that can't be knowledgeable, but
Right.
you need to know how to, if you're getting stuff off of these programs, be able to check it, edit it yourself,
Right.
make sure it has your own thought in there, because there's stuff that, they're not able to tell the difference between fiction and real historical accuracy. This is just like the ever how many years of computer data that has been put into this one cloud of sorts of knowledge, and it doesn't know how to categorize whether it's true or false or whatever. And so it's just spitting random facts at you. And if you don't have the knowledge to be like,
Yeah.
hey, that's not the Futhark that they're talking about, that wasn't even Proto Germanic or whatever, unless you can actually edit that, then you
Totally.
shouldn't be teaching about it.
I 100% agree with you on that one. And I mean, there's so many nuances uh with teaching as well. And also this I've been seeing more within the last 10 or 15 years teaching more how to play short rhythms or how to,
Yeah.
play simple chords and uh more learning that more with memorization as opposed to learning how to actually read sheet music and
Mhm.
how that all works.
Yeah.
And it's become more of a lost art, but it's so fucking important to know
Yep.
both and be able to know how to do both.
Music is a different language, and it's in a there's a reason why music was added to the recording tape that was sent into outer space and is in time capsules and stuff like that, because music is a universal language. It's
Right.
based in sacred geometry and numerology. And so it is something that if we do not keep that knowledge alive, and there's a reason why my business is called Keeper of the Old Ways, because somehow I've been collecting all of these different traditions and being hyper focused about all of them enough to where I will nerd out and tell anybody that shows the slightest spark of interest things about the things.
Yep.
And
Absolutely. And that's the best.
so it's like, there's no wonder I studied historical music so much, artwork, veneration art, and, like
Yep.
all of this stuff is just coming out.
Yeah. And it's there for, other people to be able
Yeah.
to evolve and
Mm-hmm.
for yourself to be able to evolve. And yeah, cool. So thanks so much for coming on here
Yep.
and doing this, and happy we get to explore a little bit more, talking to each other and get and know each other better. So
Yep.
yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, we'll talk soon, and I'll get you back on here at some point and probably do some other work with you maybe here down the road.
For
Might want to
sure.
check out for that. But cool. Well, yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day and get to enjoy everything, hopefully, and hopefully get to float in warm water metaphorically for the day.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll talk later. All right.
Yeah. Thanks for
All
having
right.
me on, Rusty.
You bet, Lauren. All right. That's Lauren Koch. Check her out. I will put all of her information on here. And that's easy. You can check me out, rustydiamond.net, hypnosisisgreat.com, or you can check out mine, Lauren, Brittany, and Sean's organization, Pop Up Healing. You can go to facebook.com/pop-up healing or popuphealing.net, because that's fucking awesome. And now all four of us, I guess I've had all three of them on now, so you can go back and listen to them. We're a collective, and we're fucking a little bit different, but all of us are very much people who nerd out and get very hyper focused on what we do, and what we're all focusing together now, hyper focusing on working together. Shit's getting crazy. So hopefully you guys can check that out. And if I don't know, if you want to go float in a float tank and you're in Philadelphia area, you can go to Princeton, New Jersey, or Westchester, Pennsylvania. Go to East Coast Float Spa. Tell them Rusty Diamond sent you. Go float the first time in total darkness and total silence. But then the next time, you'll get the Rusty Diamond hypnosis. It's an hour long and it's cool as fuck. So thank you everybody for being here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. Check the show out on YouTube, on Rumble, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And that is the show, man. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.